Hello, welcome to another episode of The High Ground, powered by Premier Companies. Jeff, how are you this morning?
I'm wonderful, Sal. How are you?
Well, I'm doing awesome. Considering the weather, it's a little bit rainy today.
It is.
At least we haven't been out chasing cattle like our guest in the in the podcast room. We have with us back today, returning guest, our resident expert on livestock production, is Ryan Batt, and he's the facility manager at Yorktown. Little York, not
Yep.
Yorktown, but
Yeah,
Little.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
Yorktown. You're from
Yorktown.
up my country.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Little York, United Producers. But before we get any farther, we have to do the question of the day. This is what our listeners shows. They watch like 3 minutes of our podcast, and then they get the question of the day.
Yeah.
But the question of the day today is, Ryan, what is the best prank? If you can just pick one, what is the best prank that you've ever planned or experienced?
Yeah, I don't know if I could probably tell you the best one, and just off the top of my head, probably kind of keep it livestock related, I guess. Is, there has been a few times where, we've been known to have some cattle get out of our facilities and stuff like that. So I think one of the best pranks I had was one time it was kind of just in the middle of the sale or something like that, and we was selling along, and I was like, man, it's just kind of dull. Like there's, we get in that spot in the auction where there's the dead time, I guess you might say, where it's just like an auctioneer noise, and the buyers are kind of nodding their heads a little bit, and some guys are thinking about going and getting a sandwich or something, and we was just kind of at that dead time, and the cattle was kind of, I'm going to guess they was 5 to 10 cents cheaper than what they was at the start of the sale.
Just from
kind
the
of
slowdown.
Yeah, and all of a sudden I was like, man, I got to do something. We got to get something going on here, and I was like, I ain't gonna stop. We got to stop. The cows are out. There's cows out. There's cows out. And so, anyways, so we shut down. And it's we got a lot of good people. The people that come to the sale barn, the buyers and the employees and stuff. I mean,
everybody.
The first thing we do, we have a perimeter fence around our barn, but obviously the first thing you do is you go shut the front gates.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Yeah.
Hopefully nothing gets out, because if they get out from the sale barn, they probably don't hit a fence until they get here. So
yeah,
I mean, it's a long ways, but anyways, we just say, the cows out, the cows are out. Everybody kind of gets up and takes off running and come back, and they're like, what's out? I was like, oh, they got it caught. They already got it up. And they're like, it just kind of, it's kind of a prank, but it was also kind of one of those things again, we come back in there and start selling and get through the sale, and it's all done. And one guy, I remember he was a long time buyer and bought probably 90% of the sale. And he goes, was there really any cows out? And I said, no, but I just had to do something. And he's like, well, that was pretty smart. And I was like, well, I just, But,
so if we could go back and look at the prices on that day, you can see the dip and then the spike right after.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do a graph on that one. Yeah.
We know these are good cows. They're trying to get out.
Yeah, but it was only my cattle that sold during the dip, so everybody else has brung a very good price.
Those are also the 4 fastest words to get a guy out of bed in the morning too. The cows are out.
Yeah, the cows are out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had another one with the buffalo that escaped or something. Didn't you have a herd of buffalo at one time that?
Yeah, so we
had
a buffalo get out. I bought a couple buffaloes and I turned them out, and they was running with my cows, and we had a storm or something come through, and I had a buffalo before this, and she always every day goes to the gates and checks the gates to see if they're open. Okay, since then our buffalo had passed. She passed last winter.
Yeah,
when it got cold, but she was 11, 12 years old. But every day she would walk to a gate that we drove through on the tractor and checked it. She would take her horns and head and push it, and if it came open, she was going to get out. Every day. So anyways, they had these 2 that we brung in there, and they got out. And my dad, he was actually combining soybeans in the field, and he called and he said, hey, your buffalo are over here.
Oh my gosh.
And I led them buffalo with a bucket of feed all the way to the barn.
Oh, wow.
But they would not walk through that gate. And then me and my dad proceeded to chase them on our Kawasaki mules, trying to get them with the cows or something.
Yeah.
And from hurdling over cars that was going 45, I mean, they would just jump over the cars in the road. And
I heard it was wild.
Yeah. And then they would go, I mean, it wasn't like they would walk through a fence. They would just go through the fence. And I could just tell that, like, I probably better do something about this. And anyways, it was one of those things where what do you do? What do you do? And so we end up putting them down. But like you say, who would have thought you could, dad's running, the combine down the road,
Oh my
the
gosh.
rows, shelling beans in the buffalo, and me and a bucket's just walking through there, it's kind of awkward. Yeah.
Jeez.
Oh, so it had a sad ending. Way to bring it up.
Well,
Sal.
they were good.
Yeah. We got them butchered, so it was
Yeah.
all right.
Had buffalo burgers.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, Jeff, what is your of the many pranks that you've probably been involved in? I've experienced on the receiving end of some of them. So
We've had some good ones.
yeah,
But in the spirit of trying not to get our show canceled, I'll
or
stick
since
to.
we're on probation anyway.
And this is not really a prank, so to speak, but it's been several years ago now. My parents, they lived in the Memphis area down just across the line in Mississippi, and it was Christmas Eve. And so I had my immediate family, which I've got a passel of kids.
I've heard.
Yeah, you've heard. So we're sitting there, it's Christmas Eve, and my mom and dad, my sisters and nieces and nephews are all down at their house in the Mississippi area, and it's about 6.5 hour drive. And this is like 11 o'clock at night. And looked at my kids. I go, "Want a road trip? We'll go down to Mama and Papa's." And everybody's like, "Let's do it." So
It wasn't planned.
No, it wasn't planned. We drove through the night, and we got there about 6:30 in the morning, and we just busted in the front door. And most of them were asleep. My dad was. I think my mom was back in the shower, and so we just come in as like surprise, and we got them. It was great.
That was Christmas Eve day.
Yeah. Well, we got there on Christmas morning.
Christmas
So,
morning.
So we walked through the door, the door on Christmas morning and stuff, and
How cool
they were
is
all
that?
screaming and crying. Well, everybody knows we're there except my mom. She's still back in the shower, and so my dad's trying to get her to come out. So, and she had started cooking something, and so he keeps going back there, going, "Lita, you got to get out here," and she's getting aggravated with him because he keeps going, "I don't know what I'm doing. You got to come here." He's doing whatever to get her out of there. She's about half aggravated. Well, she walks out, and there we stand.
Oh,
the tears! It was
gosh.
awesome. So, one of our
What
better
a-
surprises.
That's like a Christmas, one of them Hallmark types.
Yeah, that's Hallmark
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah,
It was fun.
that's awesome.
So, in the spirit of coming up on Christmas here, well, I'll tell that story.
That's a good one. I don't know. Mine was I was trying to the same way, trying to think of some, and I had bought a new backhoe back in 20.
You've got excavating equipment?
Yes.
He's
Never heard
he's
that.
got multiple excavating equipments.
Well, I had bought this backhoe. It was beautiful. Just delivered it, and Kate was at they had a gosh, this would have been 21, so she would have been elementary school still, and they had a math bowl or something. But something was going on at school, and Kim came down, and we had just got the backhoe delivered. I was there with the salesman, and she goes, "Well, I'm gonna go get Kate," and I was like, "Well, I'll go get her." I was like, "I'll take the backhoe over there and pick her up." And she goes, "You better not." And I'm like, "Yeah, it'll be fine." So, and it is a nice backhoe. It's got ride control, where you just scoot right on down the road. And we only live about a mile and a half,
Yeah,
2
not
miles
very
from the
far.
school. So it's not very far. Anyway, so I get over to the school in the backhoe and pull in, and it's like I'm getting in the line to pick up the kids. And if you've ever been to elementary or something to pick up kids, it's like minivan, SUV, then backhoe, and then like minivan, And so the time they let one kid out at a time or something, and then the child would come out and leave. And so I pull up, and then Mr. Rosenbaum, Tom, yells back in there and kind of laughs and gets Kate to come out, and she comes out and stops, and her jaw dropped, and she didn't know what to do. She didn't want to come to the backhoe to get in, so she kind of walked like a circle to try to and then she just hung her head and just walked out and wouldn't even look at me. Got up in the cab.
You need to do that again sometime when she's in high school.
Oh yeah,
It'd be good to do like
That'd be
today.
a good senior year.
That would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be a nice touch. I'll do that
We'll
one.
have to make sure Amity ain't listening to this.
Yeah.
She'll tell Kate.
I got a picture of her because she would even smile until we
Yeah.
got at least halfway home. I was like, "Hey, this is the nicest thing in the pickup line."
She wasn't impressed, huh?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Just mortified. If you can imagine how embarrassed a kid can be.
It's about like me when I pull up with my truck and trailer and there's a load of cows on the
Yes.
back. And like, there's Ryan.
Okay. Well, let's see. Well, Ryan, it seems like the last time we had you on here, I mean, my freezer beef was pretty expensive.
Yeah, I tell you what, I think so. I don't know how many times we've been on here for a couple years for sure, but this must be the cattle market's good luck charm with Premier Company's podcast, because every time we've been on, it's getting better. So, and I tell you,
It was
like
6 months ago.
Yeah.
It was episode 142, and you were like, boy, I'll tell you, things are good.
it is good. I mean, it is, I guess you get to the point to where, how good is good. But, looking back on it, I was just trying to think on the way here, I was trying to compare stuff and try to think about, what we could talk about and what the difference was about stuff. And, I kind of reminisce back, when I was a kid, one of my favorite tractors that we have on our farm is a 966 tractor we bought from your dad.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
my grandpa bought that off your dad when he kind of quit farming and,
Yep.
and slowed down. And, I was sitting there thinking, when we bought that 966 tractor, I don't know what we gave for it. Maybe we gave $10,000 for it, and corn was $2.50 a bushel.
Yeah, right.
And so, like, it's
Which
now,
is good for the day.
Yeah, and I'm going to guess that was in 1980 something or another.
Yeah, it'd have been a long time.
So now we're looking at 2024, getting ready to hit 25, and corn's what? Same price, kind of.
Oh, well.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the tractor's worth way more. The corn's worth the same, and it's just kind of like one of those things that you kind of try to tie stuff together. And the cattle market has always just been a certain amount. And we hear the stories. The old timers come in and say, "Oh yeah, we bought a whole load of cattle. They cost 13 cents a pound." And I'm like, "Whoa, 13, what was wrong with them?" And they're like, "Oh no, they was the best. They was the best ones there." I'm like, "There's no way," So. I hear a lot of those stories and stuff, and you just try to reminisce and relate to stuff and try to get it to where you can break it down simple to talk to people about. And, it's just like, it's no different than, like at that same time when we may have bought that tractor for 10,000 and corn was $2.50 a bushel, what really sticks in your mind is the middle part of it. It seemed like we never had any money.
Yeah.
Today it seems like we never have any money. But how are we making it? How are we making it? So I think it's just a process of, obviously the cost of living is more, the cost of inputs are way more. So, you got to have your ups and downs and to manage your market and to call out stuff that doesn't need to be there. But, I think on this cattle market, the market is just so strong right now that people are just looking at it like, hey, this is exciting. This is fun. We're making money. We're actually getting in to something, or we're actually, showing profit off of our, what we've did for years and years. And we're getting to see a lot more people right now, putting cattle back into operations that haven't had them before.
Okay.
So how long do you think this current cattle cycle is going to last?
I tell you, it's hard to say, because I think I may have mentioned this earlier in my first podcast, but 20 years ago, you could predict what's going to happen. Like I could tell you, I've worked with United Producers for 24 years, and I could probably tell you in the first 8 years I worked for them what was going to happen the next year. I could tell you when you was going to sell your cattle. I could tell you when Sal was going to sell his. And now it's kind of one of those things that, we used to say that, let's say this time of year, we're in the middle of December, that was the time you didn't sell cattle. Well, we had a sale yesterday and they was just as high as they was in, probably in August, September. So, they're not as high as they was, but then you got to look at your surrounding geographical, we're moving cattle farther away. We're moving cattle, hitting cattle in Canada. We're moving cattle, from Mexico up here. And, like this time of year, they want to get, in Kansas and so forth down that way. They got the wheat out. So, the wheat's starting to come up. They're going to want them little grass calves. So, there's a couple of guys that's told me, in the West that you can't buy those calves too high. this is what I'm going to tell you. Whenever you look at the past couple of weeks, when you see the 3-weight steers bringing $5 a pound, I kind of got to look at that and say, is this real? And even on your bigger cattle, your 7-8 weight steers bringing $3 a pound in, South Dakota, Montana, and stuff like that. You look at it and you say, is this real? Because, everybody can look at the Board of Trade and say, how is this going to work? How's this going to work? But, like I say, the input costs are a little bit cheaper. Corn's a little bit cheaper. So can we put more money into cattle? How fast can we do it? Our genetics are better than what they was years ago. So, there's a lot of things that tie into it, but I think it's exciting in the cattle market right now.
Yeah.
We talk about the cow numbers going down. So you're saying guys are starting to get back into, how long is it going to take to build this cow herd back up? How low did it get? Do you know?
They say that, I don't know the exact numbers in front of me right now, but they say they're at a record low on the numbers that's actually out there right now. And you about have to believe that, because we've had floods, fires, drought. We've had all kinds of weather related type stuff to push the people out. Then one of the biggest things you deal with right now is the age of the farmer. Whenever grandpa gets done, he wants to sell those cows, or the corn planters want to come in because corn hit $6 or $7. The fences went down. We'll build that same fence. We've all built fence.
Oh, yeah, that's expensive.
Yeah. So,
and everybody loves doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
The only thing worse is when your neighbor builds a border fence. That's the only thing worse.
Yeah. So you got a fence there to maintain, and and it's not easy. It's I compare. Like on my end of the deal, on our farm that we have, like I do a lot of livestock and very little grain. My dad and my brother, they do a lot of grain, and they still do the livestock. So I try to compare stuff to where like I understand it better on my end of it. So on my end of it, I'm dealing in livestock. So I got to think about, I got to build that fence. I got to buy that feed. I got to do this. I got to do that. It's to where on their end of it, they're doing both indices of it, but they have to make everything balance. And so it's harder. It's probably harder on their end than it is on my end, or it would be harder on a grain farmer end versus where you mingle stuff together. Then when you get stuff together, of course, when you're wanting to plant corn, you're needing to wrap hay, or whenever you're wanting to bale hay, you need to be side dressing corn, or, so it's kind of one of those things is, how do you manage your time? How do you manage your inputs and your costs to do this? But I think whenever you get it boiled down to it, the farmers that have cattle right now and grain are using the cattle to kind of supplement their losses on kind of some of the grain.
There's pretty good cash flow.
Yeah. And then like for the area the geographical area that we're in right now in Southern Indiana, you get into Northern Indiana also, you get a lot of feedlots. And some of those guys that haven't had cattle in those feedlots for years are thinking, hey, maybe we ought to buy some steers and get rid of some of this cheap corn. So, that's another positive thing. So the cow calf numbers are low, but I think the numbers as far as keeping cattle local, doing a lot more local beef and stuff like that, I think those numbers are going to start picking up.
That's and I've got some buddies out west, and just some of their their bred sales, selling bred cows. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, they had this set in South Dakota of bred heifers bringing like $4,200 or something like that. And these are commercial. These are not show cattle we talked about earlier or anything like that. I mean, so. But, and I tried to tell a guy, a good friend of mine, he buys a lot of cows from me. And I said, it's similar to whenever you was paying $1,200 and your cow was worth $600. You still got to figure that calf's going to be worth $1,500. The cow's still got to be worth $1,500. So you're $3,000 for the pair. But mentally in your mind, you're sitting there thinking, I ain't no way I'm giving $3,000 for a pair, that I'm going to go broke, but whenever you look at the big scheme of it, it's like you asked earlier, how long will this cycle last? I don't know if you could ever it's one bad news article away. It's one, person that does the wrong thing and gets on the news. It's just one thing away from breaking to where it would go to a spot that we don't want it to go back to. So like I say, there's a lot of animal husbandry goes in there and a lot of care.
Yeah.
We always got to remember what we're doing, cause nowadays it's easy to pick one of these cell phones up and, take a picture or something.
That's exactly right.
Well, one of those pranks that we talked about earlier that we're not supposed to be doing,
Yeah. But it's and speaking of that, I mean, you're right. I never thought about that, but it seems like the demand never really dropped. It seemed like the
Yeah.
demand
So,
held so strong.
that's what's amazing to me is I kind of look at we was teasing you about the locker plant stuff. Okay. So, like right now it's going to cost you 30, I'm going to guess it's going to cost you 3,000 to 3,200 to get a steer in the locker plant and harvested.
Yeah.
And that's packaged, and then it's your responsibility to get your deep freeze and fill it up and all that stuff. So, I just on the average, how many soccer moms are going to go buy a $3,000 cow and put in their freezer?
Yeah.
Even though that's cheaper than probably all the meat they're going to buy for the whole year.
It's just such a
But
big
it's just
outlay.
one outlet. So then you think, okay, well, that kind of shuts that down. But I get calls every day, people wanting, put steers in, halves here, quarter here, whatever, and that's fine. That's great. But, like what about the hog prices right now? So the hog prices are just kind of floating up and down everywhere. You never really know where the hog thing's going to be. And the hog thing's more of a contracted out deal. So, and that too, that's cheap meat. I went to the JC store, I guess it was Monday, and I was buying the whole pork loins for, I think it was $2.49 a pound. So you get a whole pork loin for like $8 to $12. Well, a whole pork loin will feed a lot of people.
Yes, it will.
It'll surely feed your family. Even if there's 6 or 7 of you in there, that one pork loin will feed your family.
Yeah.
And then if you have a family of 3 or 4, it's 2 days worth of food. So, versus that T-bone steak
that whole lip-on loin that costs $215.
Right. Yeah. You buy the cattle loin at $200. You buy the pig loin at $15. Which one are you going to buy?
Yeah.
I had to experience. We just did this last week. I had a young cow, one of my better cows, didn't breed back, and so I thought I'm just going to have her put on a hamburger. So I called, got her in the locker. Meat was done last Monday, and so now I'm telling my wife, it's like, she goes, "What are you going to do with all this hamburgers?" Well, I said, "Kids, our adult kids, they used to come home and, just be like rob the freezer."
Yeah.
But I said, "Well, the kids will need some, then just put it on Facebook, sell some of your friends, some hamburger." And she goes, well, she starts rattling off. 3 of our kids just put meat in the freezer. She goes, "They don't need it. They just had a, quarter or half done." It's like, oh, great.
Yeah.
So, I said, well, put it on Facebook. See if anybody wants to buy some. We got 555 pounds of hamburger.
Mm-hmm.
In an hour and a half, and my wife's got quite the following. In an hour and a half, she had enough orders for 857 pounds of hamburger.
Oh my gosh.
When I originally told her, I said, she goes, "What price?" I said, $6. I'd heard a guy that said he was selling it for $6 a pound. She goes, "That's too high. I can go to, XYZ company locker and I can buy a hamburger, 10-pound, for $4.50. I said, "Do it 5, then I don't care." And so hour and a half, she's more than sold out.
Right.
I'm like, okay, here's your economics lesson.
Yes.
Should have asked 6.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, I get the question every day, what do you price your hamburger at? And I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of access to animals that need to be going on to slaughter, or cows that are get down, even our location or our house or anything like that. And, I price mine roughly right at that $5 too. And I think in the month of, I think it was September, October or something, I sold like 3,400 pounds of hamburger. And it's one of those, I didn't try to sell it. There was just people just calling me, "Hey, can we get hamburger? Can we get hamburger? Can we get hamburger?" And then you look at like, well, it's sold $15,000 worth of hamburger. It's like, whoa,
Well, it's so much better than, why is that? I mean, it's just like,
I think it's because, just because it's I think one thing is, and I think it's one of the biggest thing is the mindset of it. The mindset of it is I went to my buddy Sal's and I got me.
I know where it came from.
And it was his old cow, and they're them good old guys down there. They take care of their stuff and that stuff. So that's a mindset. And then you get another thing on the mindset is, Jeff's wife. We went over to the ball game there tonight and seen her. And, I hadn't seen her for a long time. And she got this hamburger for sale, and that gave me another chance to talk to her 20 more minutes or so. Like it's a little bit of a social event, I guess you might say, especially when you put the social media into it. And that's how all my stuff gets. So I don't even have Facebook, and I'm selling hamburger like crazy. Just people just text me or Snapchat me or something. Just always want hamburger. And, but here's the catch to it. I think we can sell hamburger all day long. But whenever they say, "Hey Ryan, can you get me 20 steaks?" And just like we said,
Yeah.
that loin's going to cost me
Yeah.
$250. So, and you can get them on sale. There's a lot of places that have them on sale and stuff like that this time of year for the holidays. But if you think about that, well, would you rather go to my house and get 30 pounds of hamburger for $5 a pound, or would you rather come to my house and
Get 4 steaks.
yeah. So it's kind of, so like, what surprises me, back to your question, is how are we still selling this high price stuff? But here's the thing: when I go to Texas Roadhouse, I still have to wait in line.
Yeah.
It's
When I
true.
go to Logan's Roadhouse, when I go to any, we have these meetings that, we try to eat at steak restaurants or something like that, being in the cattle industry. But, when we go to these restaurants, we're all waiting in line. And, like, you take the big events that go on and stuff like that. Well, let's go out to dinner. What's the first thing you're going to order? I'm going to
steak.
order a steak
Yeah.
because you're paying for it.
Yeah.
So, we get a steak and we do that stuff. I'm baffled at the thing, at how we're still selling this stuff as high as it is compared to what we did. But is this the new trend? And so far for the past 2 years, this is the trend.
Yeah.
And
I think you're right, Ryan.
Well,
I mean,
ever since COVID,
Yeah.
it just exploded.
yeah, this is the trend. Yeah. The trend is to have higher, higher prices. And I think everyone is adjusting to it. So I think this here could be, with a fluctuation of $10 to $20 or something on the call side of things. Like, here's a good example for our slaughter bulls this week. Our slaughter bulls was right around $1.40 a pound. Now they was up to $2 a pound at one time.
That's
So, but where, a bull, they use that meat mostly to cut the cow meat down because it's lean, leaner, like that. And they kind of mix it together and all that other stuff. So, you know, I do know that there is a couple packing plants that have shut down 1 day a week. They're not running 5 days. They're only running 4 days because they do have meat setting there, but it's kind of that time of year. I mean, what did we eat last month? Turkey. we ate turkey and ham.
we had prime rib.
Yeah. I know, but like, that's the general public. They eat turkey on Thanksgiving, so I don't know.
And lots of leftovers.
Yeah, the Angus Association has done a great job advertising, but they still haven't got the bird out of the way on Thanksgiving. I mean, that's the basic point of it. But it's just one of those things that
They walk through a turkey barn, they would eat them.
yeah, that's for sure. But but we have
It's true.
we just have a lot of we have a lot of positives going for us right now in the beef industry. And like I say, with that market being high, I think this is the trend for a while. And I think it's going to set in here and stay in here because I don't see it going down, because the people that are in it now, and you got the people, like I said earlier, they're wanting to buy more cows. I know even on our end of it, if we find a good deal on cows, we're running probably our max capacity, at our farm on cows that we need to run per acre. But if we can find a good deal, we're going to take advantage of it, because why wouldn't we? Because that calf, in 6 months is worth another $1,000. And then, that goes back into this time of year, calving season. We've either hit it, in it, or getting ready to be in it. One or the other. So this time of year, every little calf that's born, that's $1,000 bill that comes out. All right, $1,000 bill. No matter which way you look at it, that's $1,000.
Wow.
And then it's worth $100 a month every month after that you keep it alive, pretty much. So that's a big incentive for a farmer to make sure everything works out too. So whenever that stuff starts working out, you're wanting to maintain stuff.
You're checking those cattle every day.
Overnight, you're checking cattle.
Yeah.
Overnight, your facility somehow just got better because you're, hey, I need that new corral system. Hey, I need that new chute. I'm gonna need to add on to the barn. I'm gonna put a roof over these cows. We're gonna fix a better way to feed these things. So, and as we're doing that, we're helping the whole industry, and taking a little bit of relief off of the crop farmer that's maybe not buying that new tractor, but they're buying, a new skid loader to clean the barn out, or maybe they're buying something else to, help on another end of the spectrum to kind of keep the, even the farm equipment people alive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those babies, the value of that will get you up at 3 a.m. for
Yeah,
that to go
yeah.
check cows when you've
Right.
done it for 10 days in a row and you're getting tired.
Yeah,
That's a pretty good reminder.
like I say, when we come in here, I tell you the story about we had a cow with her head locked in a gate last night, a show calf.
Yeah.
Even at that, and Jeff, you know how much this thing
Yeah.
probably costs. So,
for our listeners that might not know, a show calf is worth a lot more than
Yes,
the
yes.
hamburger
Yeah.
cattle we were talking
It's
about.
really when it comes to showing cattle, people ask me, "Is there a lot of money in it?" I say, "Yes." I put it there.
Yeah, that is right. There's a lot of money in it for whoever received the check. yeah. So anyways, you come home and you have this cow, and this is the way you got to look at it as a farmer. As a show cow or not a show cow, that cow's worth X amount of dollars. Okay, so that let's say that cow at my sale barn yesterday was worth $1,700. Okay, well, she's probably worth 8 times that on a piece of paper. But when she's got her head locked in that gate, and brand new gate, brand new everything, she's stuck in it. Okay. So, the first thing that happens is you get a phone call from your son that he's in panic and, somebody else is calling you and you're thinking, where's the Sawzall? Where's this? Where's that? What am I going to do? And, from like you said, we live 2 miles away from the school. So we leave the school last night. We're 2 miles away and there's probably a million things that run through your mind of how this is going to go down. Everything was fine. We were good. We got it out. Everything's fine. The heifer's eating feed this morning. We're okay. But it's just it's just the thought of it. So
Sure.
You become a lot more precautious about what's going on in your environment, for your livestock whenever worth this much money.
Yeah.
Well, and nowadays, if that cow doesn't produce, she doesn't get a lot of second chances when the market's as high as it is.
Well, yeah, and like I say, the slaughter cow market there yesterday, we topped out at 135 or something, 36, something like that on cows, and this is obviously the middle of December. That's a pretty good price. Now we have hit 170, 80, on cows back last summer, and so and that brings up another point that follows back into what we said earlier. If we keep getting rid of them because of something minor, like, she lost the calf. Well, was it her fault or was it our fault? Was it the weather or did we have her in the best place and she lost it? Was it born dead? Or maybe she's like, oh, well, it's 8 years old. She weighs 1,700 pounds. I'm going to cash that thing in and, buy something else or get another heifer. So there's a lot of variables that go in there. And I think that, we actually had a couple cows yesterday that come in and the farmer said, well, they lost their calves and we bring them in there and we had farmer buyers buy them back and be like, hey, we know she had a calf. We don't know the story, but we're going to try her on our farm. So, there's a lot
second
of different
chances, huh? Redemption.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I just think back to I've never sold one because she produced too well.
Yeah, that's right.
Nobody, right?
Yeah.
Well, there is that man eater. She's a good producer, but she kill you.
Yeah. So and that anymore that it's funny because I deal a lot with every type of farmer and you got your I'm gonna say these farmers are more like ranchers. You got some farmers that are more like ranchers around here. You got some farmers that go all the way to the other spectrum of I go to town at 8 o'clock and do my job and I come back home and I feed my 5 cows. And if they need a bale of hay, I call my neighbor and he drops a bale of hay in there, or I call, the feed store. They bring us 15 bags of feed and, I feed them a little bit of grain. I scratch their head every day and we're done. Now, what's more important? They're both important. They're both very important. They're both they both have the same opportunity to make the same amount of profit. One may have 5 head, one may have 500 head.
Yeah,
but they both have the opportunity to make the same amount of profit per cow. And that's where I think people are seeing that, like getting back into the business. Hey, I can buy 2 or 3 cows and keep them there on my property. And, hey, I might have to rent a bull, but hey, that's an extra $3,000 that grass was just growing anyway.
Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
And like I say, if you get one that's wild and crazy, that's probably not one that I'm going to send to somebody. That's probably not one that you're going to sell to somebody. But like I know there for a while that cute little fuzzy cow that shows up on all the shirts and TVs, the Highlanders right now. Those was a big thing, and like people giving $3,000 and $4,000 for a baby calf.
$6,000. I got a buddy that runs an online auction deal. They sold those little fluffy cows.
Yeah.
I mean, and the sad thing is, it, I don't understand it. I mean, these people are buying these things, and
Yeah.
his last sale, they averaged $6,000.
That's
Oh
crazy.
my gosh. For
And-
like a bunny, like a pet
Yeah,
almost.
and they're all on the
Yeah.
bottle still, and
Yeah.
just take you a bottle calf home for $6,000.
Yeah, 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 and I, I've heard the stories the same way, but that's one thing, we kind of laugh about that, but then me and you might go out and give 10 or 20,000 for a show calf too. So
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? But anyways, it's the same scenario, but here's my thing with it. If we can get more of those people that would never buy a cow, but they're buying it because it's cute.
Yeah.
If we get more of those people to understand the livestock marketing side of stuff, or the livestock in general, the general care, what it takes to do it. They tell a friend, the friend comes over and they're
That's
wanting
not
to
a
pet
bad
the cow.
thing.
That's
Yeah.
not bad.
That's not a bad
that's good PR. I mean, that's what we want. We just don't want the guy that goes and buys that $6,000 cow and a cup of milk from McDonald's and says, "Hey, this thing won't drink," and like, I don't know what to do. I got took, that's the biggest thing is, trying to educate those people a little bit, because we still do get people come to the stockyards and they'll be like, "We want to buy a cow." Okay.
What are you going to do with it?
What are you going to do with it? They're like, "I don't know.
We'll put it in my minivan and take it home."
You're exactly right. So we had a guy come in there. I told this story one other time. We had a guy come in there one time with a minivan. He bought this 400-pound bull calf that was probably one way I wouldn't sell the guy because he's crazy. He buys this thing and he says, "Put it in the van." I said, "Well, what are you going to do once we get it in the van?" I said, "That thing will run through your front windshield." "Oh, it'll be fine. It'll be fine." I'm like, "I'm not putting it in the van." He's like, "Oh yeah, it's fine." And like I told him, I was like, "Listen, we just pretend like we never met, and like, let's just not do this." And I said, "Let's wait till you get a facility. I could come to your house. I could tell you what you need." "Oh no, you just don't want to sell me the calf." "You're right, because I know what's going to happen
It's
here.
going to kill you.
Yeah, but it is stuff that happens. I've seen them. I got TikTok and all this other stuff I watch, and I've seen them do it. They'll load them right in the side. We put some pigs in a lady's car the other day. I mean, I'm talking like a $70,000-$80,000 car.
No.
And she bought 5 little pigs out of the stockyards, and she says, "Throw them in the back." And I said, "Okay." What I mean?
Like in the back seat?
In the back part of that, like where it lays down in that third row or whatever. Yeah.
Pigs,
Little pigs that was dirty and nasty. Yeah. 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 She won't take them home. What do you do?
Can you imagine her calling her husband, "Hey, honey, guess what I'm bringing home?"
And I told her, I said, "You do know that these things are going to, manure and stuff here, and, like that." And she's like, "It'll be fine. We'll take it to the car cleaner guy or
No,
something
you
like that."
won't.
And I'm like, "It might be the last time you take it there, because I don't think it, you know
won't be
what I'm
impressed.
saying?" Like, and I was like, "Ma'am, I feel sorry. I don't have no sheets. I don't have no blankets. I said, I would almost back up and put some sawdust in there." And then one of the guys, he was like, "I'll take care of her," and he walks back there. I said, "What'd you do?" He said, "We just threw him in the back and told her to get out." And I was like, but like, it's one of those, it's also one of those things, like, what do you, how do you, like, I slept that night and I'm not worried about it. It's not nothing bad. I didn't, no one's in danger here. Like the calf would run through the front of the windshield or cause you to wreck. But at the same time, it's like, there's some people we got to educate just a little bit more about how
they need to learn.
Yeah. And I don't think that was a good way to learn, but and that might have been one of the best. I should have told that as the prank or
That's
something.
a good one.
Yeah.
I'd love to see the outcome of all that when she went home.
Never know, never ask. Nope, I'm done with it.
Some of these stories will require some more follow through on your.
Yeah, I know.
You need to write a book, a day in the life of the stockyards, because you've probably seen some things.
It is. I tell you, I try to take pictures, and one of the reasons I got Snapchat on my phone was to take pictures of stuff just to put out there.
I'm gonna start following you.
Just to put out there so people would like see what's in the sale barn, because I've walked in there before and seen a water buffalo that somebody brung in.
A water buffalo?
A water buffalo, yeah.
Like on the...
Yeah, with the big brow horns and stuff. Yeah, water buffalo.
Was it mean? Was it mean?
Yes, sir. It was very mean. Yes.
Sir, they are.
Yeah. And anyways, even last week we come in there and the guy says, everybody's either got the old pet bull that would never causes a trouble, that when they're pulling in, the trailer's shaking. It's just vibrating. And this thing is, its eyes are, $50. And this guy's like,
It's like the cartoon. He's got the red,
yeah.
bloodshot eyes.
And the worst problem is this farmer will be 85 years old, driving an old 1-ton truck with a trailer on the back, and he'll say, "Oh, this is Rufus," and he'll be like wanting to like try to get, and I'm like, "Dude, listen, my job is to protect you. You stay behind this gate." And he's like, "Well, he's never heard a fly," and come off there and bounce off the wall and try to jump 3 gates, and like there's a reason why they're there. The reason that bull got there was because the guy was obviously done with him, wanting to improve his genetics, buy another bull, kept heifers back, whatever. But
he wants that same docility,
yeah.
EPD.
Yeah, but and I've been to many places where I've bought cows on the farm where we walk out amongst them and everything was fine. We put a trailer out there, or we put them in a different environment, and it's
like on a switch.
It is a light switch that turns on, and it's not that way with every one of them. But like I say, you never know what's going to come in. That's the joy. I always told them, I was like, I don't really work at the stockyards for the money. I work for it just to get the interaction with the people and the livestock, because it is just amazing, because you never know who you're going to meet, and you never know what's going to walk through that door. We sold a cow and a calf yesterday, and that the cow could walk under this table, and her calf was even littler than that.
Really?
Yeah. And
that little cat's probably worth $6,000 at one of those auctions.
And you're right. And so I bid it up to a pretty good chunk, and I was like, man, this is dumb. What am I doing? My dad would shoot me if I brought something like that home,
pet cows.
Yeah. And so yeah. And so anyways, I'm like, oh gosh, there ain't no way I just, what am I doing here? We're $1,000 or something. Like, honestly, I really think I could have resold that thing for $2,500 to $3,000, but I was like, you got, like I say, it's an auction, so you got about 30 seconds to say, hey, you in or you out. It's just the thrill of it. It's the excitement of it. Like I go to work every Tuesday, and I'm like, what am I going to do today?
What's the craziest, or maybe even the dumbest thing that you've taken home from the sale?
Oh, man, I don't know. I'd say
Zebra?
I've took a lot of dumb stuff home. No, I bought the zebra after the sale one time off a guy, but shoot, I don't know. You'd probably have to ask my kids. It was funny there for a while. They would get excited every time I come home. Whenever I pull in the driveway with the trailer, they like come running out the house, and they're like, "What did you buy today?" I don't know what it would have been the craziest thing.
Those longhorns. I don't know.
I buy a lot of longhorns. I do.
I see more of those.
Yeah. Yeah. There's quite a few around. We kind of collect them, I guess you might say. And,
Sal would like some grass-fed longhorn steaks.
yeah, we're getting some Wagyus.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I do have half a Wagyu for sale. But yeah, like I say, I don't know what I've bought some crazy things through there. I mean, I've bought anything from a cow that's probably 2 foot tall. I mean, like legit 2 foot tall. I'll tell you the best thing I bought, and I don't know, I think it's been 3 years ago. It was about this time of year. The market was soft. I was thinking cows, your best cow was bringing 80 cents or something like that. And we had these 2 little mini cows come in, and they probably weighed 400 pounds or something like that. And they was kind of skinny. And I remember I gave $84 for one and $82 for another one. I took them home, and I was like, I'm just going to turn them out, see what happens. I took them home and turned them out. Since then, I've sold 2 calves off each one of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Turned out good.
Oh, it's turned out really good. Because like I said, it's funny because I just breed them to whatever bulls I got out there in the lot. Don't never think about, genetics of it or anything like that. And these cows I would say that 2 of them could fit in a lot of my cows, and maybe 3 of those could fit into some of my cows. And they wean off the calf that is almost the same exact size as my big cows.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, man, like if I could do this, but I've never followed through on the other end of it. I'm sure they kind of quit growing at some point. So,
yeah,
I don't want to hurt the other person, but at the same time, at like $80 a piece in these cows that are putting out $1,000 to $1,200 feeder calves. So I mean, like, it's one of those things. And then, I like on our end of the world of the show calves, I bought show calves out of the sale barn that's went on to win national shows. So
isn't that something?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those, you never know what you're going to get into and you never know what's going to be there. I mean, even from, you guys know what Mangalese pigs are?
Yeah.
They're like a blue collared pig, and they got like wool instead of hair or something like that.
Kind of cool looking.
Yeah, we get people that have those around here, and I'm like, that is awesome,
Yeah, where do they come from?
I don't know, but they say they're like really good meat and all this stuff, and I've never tried one at all. But
they'll farrow outside in the snow. I mean, they're hardy.
Yeah, just it's just exciting because you never know what you're going to get in there. Yeah. You guys have to come down and visit one day.
We're going to now. We may do an on-site.
Do a live podcast.
Yeah, we should. We'll do it right in the sale ring. Yeah.
We might do that. We've been on the road before.
Sal has to buy something on air.
Yeah, we can do that.
Why me?
We'll set it up.
Because it'll be funnier that way.
Yeah. And I'll deliver it to his house.
There you go.
I know he will.
He can get it in the backhoe.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, that's probably a good place to stop for the day.
Yeah.
Well, Ryan, we've covered a lot of ground, but it's been a lot of fun. And I think one of the messages that you came out was the market is good, and we had a lot of fun talking about it. And
hey, real quick though,
yes, sir.
Just recap us. We're middle December. What's the fat and feeder prices and stuff? Can you just give us a recap?
Yeah. So on our we started out yesterday. I think we only sold like 270 head. This will be our last sale before the end of the year. We'll shut down next week. Obviously, Christmas is next week, and then the New Year's. But we're right in the middle of December. First couple of weeks in December, our feeder calf market's been on top of the world. We talked about that earlier. 5-weight steers. We sold a set of 5-weight steers in that 3, 10, 15 mark. We sold some 4-weights and 330s and 40s. Just outstanding market on the feeder calves, especially for this time of year. It's amazing. Now I ain't gonna say that some of the lower quality or number 2 type cattle or some collared calves or something like that. Those calves are going to bring in that 260, 270 mark on the number ones, and then off from there. But on the fed cattle side of it, yesterday we topped out at 194, I think it was, on our fat steers and heifers. So those are prime and choice. The big catch is there's 36 back on the select. So you got to be up on your game and know that, if you're thinking it might be a select, go ahead and mark her back, because, those things are worth about $1.80, 81. So, it's a big, probably 10-cent difference in the live price. And then we talked about the cows and bulls. I think a little bit cows going to be somewhere in that $1.20 to $1.30 mark, probably on average, and then the bull's probably going to be around $1.30 to $1.40. So that's kind of the middle recap. I do look forward to, I'd say probably the end of January, the 1st of February. I think this feeder calf market's going to blow up.
Wow.
And you can see these on the website, right?
Yeah. So if you get on our website, you can go to youproducers.com. You can scroll down our tab. We got 17 market locations. You can click on Little York or whatever one's closest to you. I run the Little York one right now, and you can check on that, check our prices, check on any of our prices, or you can just check it out. Even if you just go to your futures app or something like that, you can go in and check the futures and kind of get a rough idea of where stuff's at.
Okay. All right. Well, Ryan, thanks a lot for joining us again. And so we'll keep this market strong. We'll have you back in another 6 months.
I hope so.
Well, that's another episode of The High Ground, powered by Premier Companies. Thank you all very much.